to this very short, very brief edition of the Leafs Line podcast. We're straight off a 2-1 loss. The Leafs lost to the Arizona Coyotes. I was at work, but I got a bunch of text messages about the game saying that this veggie dude is next in line for the Vezina Trophy.
Yep.
So step aside, Jack Campbell and every other pigeon that thought they had a chance. Let's just start off with obviously the loss, but seems like they dominated in shots. But I just want to ask the people that actually watched the game, what was it like? Like, did the shot total tell it all, or like, what was the deal? Jared, I'll start with you.
Well, I'm going to say I don't think the shot total tells you how bad we tested him, because I don't think we tested him to the best of our ability. We definitely could have gotten more like high danger shots, if you want to say. But I still think the shots told the story of how much Toronto possessed the puck. I mean, Toronto outshot them. I believe the end shots was 46-18. And we had the puck for most of the night. We got a ton of pucks on net. And I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce the goaltender's name, but he did his job and he stopped a lot of them. I mean, Matthews got an absolute snipe right at the start of the third period. It was beautiful. And I believe in doing that, he broke a record for he's got his 9th straight goal in a road game, which is a Leafs record. So great for him. He got a beautiful goal. It was straight out of EA Sports, a shock and awe. But in general, aside from that, I mean, we got enough pucks on net that I'd say we tested him. Did we test him to the best of our ability? Probably not. But I think we got pucks on net. One of them probably should have been able to squeak by, but the goaltender absolutely did his job, stood on his head, made a couple highlight reel saves that are bound to end up on some kind of highlight reel, and they ended up winning the game. It's frustrating. It sucks because we should have beaten the worst team in the NHL. Absolutely, we should have done that. But I don't think I'm ready to panic or anything, because I was very satisfied with the way we played. And I think we played a very complete 60-minute effort, which is something that I've actually argued even in our last 2 games, if you want to go back just a little bit. I don't think we did that against Colorado or Vegas. I think those were very much stories of where there's 2 halves to the game. I think in this one, we pretty much dominated from puck drop. Sometimes you get some puck luck, sometimes you don't. I think that was very much a story where, I mean, we were lucky enough to get the amount of chances we got, and we had the puck for a lot of the night. But sometimes you beat a goaltender, sometimes you don't. Credit to their goalie where it's due. He played a hell of a game. And I'm very much finding it hard to super panic after a loss in January. Frustrating as it is, I don't think it's time to panic.
All right, I'll change your mind about that in a couple minutes, but I want to hear from Adamo, who had us a different perspective on how the Leafs game went.
I don't have a different perspective on how the Leafs game went, because Jared's right. The Leafs outplayed the Coyotes. You mean the first place team outplayed the last place team? Yeah, that happened.
It did. Yep.
It did in fact happen. They outshot them. They outchanced them. They out puck possessed them. It happened just like how it happened last year's first round. Remember the 1 seed and the 4 seed? We out expected goals. All that. It happened though. Yes, we were the better team today. I can't provide any other analysis.
All right, that's all we have to hear. Mario, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine. I mean, I learned a lot of things today. One of them being this morning, I ate a lot of blackberries. They don't eat blackberries. They really hurt your stomach. They're delicious. So sweet. Great alternative for desserts. I don't know. I love them. You're in the washroom for almost the entire night. So that's off the list.
Thanks for that.
Check that one off the bingo card. Number 2, I learned that this guy, Carey Vejmelnika, whatever your name is, you are in the Vezina candidates in my books, at least, because you are a stud. He's a terrific young goaltender. Let's give credit to him. Steering aside 45 of 46 shots. Give the credit where it is due. And I learned one more thing. This is going to take a little bit of a different take from the game, but Peter Mrazek, your job as a backup goaltender in the minimal minutes that you play is to at least put up good minimal minutes. I am getting really concerned. I know he hasn't played in over a month, but like $3.5 million. I left something in the washroom from those blackberries that looked a lot better than he did tonight. So definitely need him to step it up. I need to see him play more. Maybe that's something. Maybe he has no momentum coming into games, which as a goaltender, we all know is the hardest position to play in, I would say, sports. So much pressure on you in every situation. But I don't know what it is with this guy. He needs to start putting up some better performances. I remember the Chicago one we watched together, me, Jared, and Adamo, and it was like I think he led in 4 goals, 5 goals. I'm not too sure what the final score was there, but no, I need to see a better
5-4.
performance. Yeah, 5-4 Leafs. It doesn't even matter. 4 goals allowed. You need to have a better performance as a backup, making 3.5, I believe it is, $1 million. So I need to see more from him. But aside from that, that's all I pretty much learned today. I'm not panicking over a game in January. Yes, we did dominate the Arizona Coyotes, and Adamo, I absolutely agree with you. It is absolutely expected, of course, because you're playing the last place team. They have no strength on paper, and quite frankly, physically, I think they dominated them in every sector of this game, except where it matters on the score sheet. So I think that's my take. And now I know why I went to sports media, to analyze Arizona and Leaf games at 1 a.m. So learn something new every single day. That's my slice.
All right, yeah. I mean, like I didn't watch the game, but I know that the goalie for Arizona has definitely kept them in games and has definitely stolen a few games for the Coyotes.
4 games.
Yeah,
this is his fourth
yeah.
NHL win.
Yeah, well, I mean, if he was on a better team in a better situation, he would probably have a lot better record. But yeah, and then obviously this was the second end of a back-to-back between they played Vegas last night and they play Arizona tonight. I watched the Vegas game with my dad, and I just wanted to give my thoughts on that because that was actually a game that I watched. And, going into that game, I was very concerned for Vegas just because there was a few hours before the game, they announced no Shea Theodore, no Nick Waugh, and then no Nolan Patrick. But the two impactful players there are Shea Theodore and Nick Waugh. Nick Waugh's having a career year. He's already eclipsed his point total from last year. And look, the reason why I keep saying that there should be panic in the Leafs is because of what the end goal is. And it's not like this team is like a rebuilding team where any win you can get is a good win. I think that last night against Vegas was not a good win at all. And because they went up against the Vegas Golden Knights team that had no Mark Stone, no Max Pacioretty, no Shea Theodore, like I mentioned, no Nick Hague, Martinez was also out. Like, it was a very depleted defensive core. And I know that penalty that was on Clifford ended up being a lot of controversy in the group chat. There's the bingo.
Check it off.
Yeah. And I don't it's hard to say this all in a text message, but I don't think that's controversial in the sense that when Vegas was given the 5-on-3, there was 55 seconds left in the 5-on-4 penalty. So they could have just they could have wiped off the penalty, get it, the kill. Vegas did not look great on the power play. It took that 5-on-3 to score. And what my point that I'm trying to make is it's all about discipline. And when you take a too many men penalty, when you're on the penalty kill, up only 1 goal, it's not what you need to be doing. And it's just this common theme of them giving up leads and then trying to find out ways to pull it out. The game against Colorado, I get that, Colorado can literally explode on impact on especially at home. But against Vegas, I just really didn't like how the Leafs played in that second half. Again, they score right away, but with the T-Mobile Arena, a lead doesn't mean anything. But I don't know. They just need to work on discipline factors and in terms of that penalty and then also just giving up leads. So that's why I'm saying worry now in January. So that way, when it happens in April, that situation isn't that's a thing of the past. That's why I say it's something to panic about because it's issues you want to solve now.
I do agree with that. I think that's the way you worded it is great, where it's you're using the word panic to say it's a problem rather than the season's done. Because that's when people use the word panic, that's often what it kind of sounds like. And I'm not saying this is something for you, but just when you use that word, panic's a big word and it makes people think you're saying, oh, the season's done, everything's fucked, this team's going nowhere. I don't think that's what you're saying. I think you're making a great point that problems are showing up in our game right now. Absolutely they are. And they're very much problems that remind me of the problems we've seen in the past. So I do think it's good to kind of, especially for Sheldon Keefe, to kind of keep an eye on these things that are starting to kind of creep back into our game. But also, I think you could attribute a lot of these problems to just the situation we're in. I mean, of course, in the month of December, a lot of guys going through COVID. We were off since beginning of December, or not beginning, but We played up until the middle of December, then we're off until January with COVID issues and things like that. Now we've only played a few games since being then, and since we've come back from COVID, I think the same problems have kind of been there. I mean, that first one we dominated Ottawa, but that's probably a similar result as we probably should have seen tonight. I mean, Ottawa's a team you expect to dominate. So that one was whatever. But since then, the Edmonton game, which we ended up winning, but didn't have a perfect game. Colorado, we absolutely didn't have a perfect game. Very much a story of two games where we had the 4-1 lead that was probably undeserved. Then Colorado won like they probably should have to begin with. Then when we get to Vegas, especially, which we ended up winning it in the shootout. But I think it was a super undeserved win. And even comparing it to the next night against Arizona, which is tonight, I liked our game in Arizona a lot better than I liked our game against Vegas. In one of them, we ended up fluking into a shootout win. In the other, we lost 2-1. We lost in a 1-goal game where a goalie played like a superstar that isn't a superstar goalie. I don't like using the word goalie. I'm not someone that's coming in, we got a goalie, that's the only reason we lost. I think we definitely could have tested him more. There's faults in our game, absolutely. I'm not completely putting us off the hook because I think there's blame to go around on our team. But to really start panicking in the sense that you think there's problems come playoff time and things like that, I think that's a stretch. But what Evan's saying, where it's like, maybe start putting the red exclamation mark, start putting something on the radar a little bit that we can work on and start targeting in practice. I think that is a good idea at this point because as great as the season have been, we cannot afford to get into those old habits that ultimately the past few seasons have caused us to get bounced out of the playoffs. So I think it's definitely a good idea to keep an eye on a few problems that are certainly creeping into our game. However, going too far to the extent that you're starting to say panic time is now, let's blow it up, things like that, fire everyone, trade everyone. That's where you have to draw the line a little bit. You have to admire and look at what our record is right now because it's unbelievable. Our team is playing absolutely amazing, some of the best hockey that we've seen from this group, not only just with this recent core, but in actual like Leafs history. Like we're breaking records with the way we're playing. So I think credit needs to be credit is deserved because we are playing well. However, the last few games, absolutely problems have creeped up. So I do like what you're saying, that highlight those a little bit, keep an eye on those, work on them in practice, and hopefully we could kind of take those sore parts out of our game. So when it comes to April, we could hopefully be okay.
And Jared, I have a tweet for you. Usually you're doing the tweeting here, but I found one just as we were talking here. And Sheldon Keefe, I guess in his post-game presser said, and I quote, "Our group looked tired here again today. Makes me start to wonder about our conditioning and where we're at there," end quote. So, I mean, I really don't know if that's a positive statement or a slap in the face, if he's trying to maybe ease the blow. But for me personally, I don't personally want to see any more positivity come out of the coach right now. And I don't know, what do you guys make of the way Keefe is handling things as of right now? Do you want to see the positive attitude come from him, or getting on them a little bit and saying, we got to pick it up, don't let this stuff happen, don't let us fall in a lull, as they've been doing in these past couple of games? Because you're looking at two sides of the coin here, and we've seen how Keefe handles different situations. Which way should he go about doing this one?
Well, he's
sorry, no, Evan.
well, I'm saying, like, he's got to be negative. Like, I feel like that's the issue with the Leafs. And then it comes to playoff time, you can't candy coach shit in the NHL. Like, you got, it's not like these kids are, it's not like these guys are going to get like offended, you know, like they're hockey players. They're going to learn until they retire from their coaches. And I think in a game like last night, you needed to say, like, guys, like, we won, but we shouldn't have won, and just be blunt. And I think that's why coaches like Bruce Boudreau, and I'm trying to think of Barry Trotz, like, I think those are the coaches that are always so successful. Because I mean, even John Tortorella, you can bash him, but he does get the job done, and he does get the most out of his players. And I think that's because they have the no bullshit attitude, where it's just like, and I think that's why guys in Vancouver I know this is off topic, but like, that's why guys in Vancouver are now succeeding. Like, as soon as Bruce Boudreau got there, Brock Besser finally evolved and Quinn Hughes finally evolved. It's because they just said, like, look, this is where you're messing up and this is why we're losing. And it sparks a fire in you. And I think Sheldon Keefe is a little too soft because of the connection that he has with Kyle Dubas.
And Jared, I want to get your points as well, because I know how much you like to take the more positive spin on things, which is always awesome. But I want to hear, like, do you rather have the positive attitude in the dressing room in these situations, or when's the time to start getting on their heels and saying, guys, let's pick it up. Let's start getting moving. We've, like you said, Evan, escaped by the thin of their teeth, or whatever you want to call it, in that Vegas game. And that Colorado one was a mess. We already analyzed that. But when do you start getting on these boys?
No, I think for me, I'm a fan, and I personally like taking the positive route. But from the coach, I absolutely like him stepping up, putting his foot down, because I think that's sometimes needed, not all the time. I think you have to have a coach that's able to give your group credit when it's deserved, but when some hard facts are deserved and when the coach needs to step up, I think he absolutely needs to do that, because this group, like Evan said, you can't kind of sugarcoat and candy coat things. You have to step up and tell them the way they're playing sometimes is unacceptable. And I think that's a huge problem that we've seen in the past, especially last year. I love looking back at, I think the difference, because I do actually think the group has matured. The difference between this year and last year is last year, I think we very much were celebrating. Even Coach Keefe threw his quotes where he was like, yeah, we're a first place hockey team. This is awesome. And I think you ultimately saw that didn't end up mattering. Come playoffs, it's a completely new ballgame. And the regular season standings doesn't end up mattering. So I like that he sometimes comes in and takes the negative attitude, because I think it has to happen. And he has to be the one that tells the group, no, the way we are playing right now is simply unacceptable and we need to step it up. As a fan, positive mindset is great. I think sometimes you have to kind of calm yourself down with the fact that it's only January, yada, yada, yada. Everything's doing great. Our record's good, whatever. Because that's just a fan thing. You can't afford to stress yourself out. But in the coaching and in the dressing room, when you're actually talking to the players, I think it's a different story, because they know what could happen if they get too lulled into a sense of security, because they know come playoff time, it's a completely different beast. It's a completely different animal. And I am absolutely in favor of Sheldon Keefe, when he has to, putting his foot down and kind of saying, like, sure, this Jared guy on Twitter over there is saying all these nice things. Fuck that. And let's start looking at the problems that are coming up in our game. So I think there is a fan side of things and a coach side of things, where the coach ultimately has to make the hard decisions, say the hard things that ultimately are done for the greater good to motivate the group. I do like when Keefe takes the negative mindset. I think he sometimes actually needs to take more of a negative mindset, not negative in the sense that you guys suck, like fucking whatever, but sometimes that's earned, and sometimes the coach needs to backskate you and do everything possible to get the best out of his group. Sometimes I think Keefe has done that, but as well, I think sometimes he has a bit of a ways to go. So I'd like to see him continue doing that when it's deserved. When we're doing great, we don't have this discussion, but when it's deserved, when we're lacking in our play, I like when Keefe steps up.
I agree. And I mean, great take as always. If you want to check out any more of Jared's great takes, check him out on Twitter and now on TikTok at Jared Rotenberg.
Yep,
as of today, great video to start us off, and I'm sure it's going to keep on riding that way. So quick plug for you, Jared. And Rimoli, I want to turn this question over to you. And I know, Evan, you're trying to do the hosting duties. I'll step in a little bit. We'll keep switching it over. But Rimoli, when does this stop? Leafs getting out goalied? Because they got one against Shesterkin way earlier in the year. We were very critical on that New York Rangers game. We saw it tonight against, I don't know do you consider it out goalied? I think everyone is having a pretty general consensus where goalie, he's kind of stood in his head tonight. But when does something stop? And as hockey experience of your own, where's the headspace at from a player standpoint? You keep on putting the puck to the net, nothing's going through. When does the frustration kick in, and how do you get in that bit of a slump?
Well, as you guys were talking, I was actually thinking, my mom brought it up. Ironically, I was walking upstairs, and I want to share a story on the podcast because I think it ties into the last little discussion and what you just asked me. Yeah. So it's a story from my playing days a couple years ago. I played on the team called the Capitals, and we were going for the Kraft Cup. We were one of the best teams in the league. So whatever, we're playing our season where I think we were first in the league at the time, and it's our final game before Christmas, and we play a team called the Renegades. The Renegades have one win on the season. Their only win came against a team who had no wins on the season. The Attack, they were awful, but the Renegades were almost just as bad. It's our final game before Christmas. It's December 23rd. I remember this. And we get into the game. We think, okay, whatever. We're gonna blow these guys out. Whatever. We do it all the time. We're the best team in the league. And we go into the game. They get a quick one. It's whatever. We know we're going to put 8 on them, whatever. Okay, we still don't score. Okay, it's goalie's standing on his head, whatever. We're going to beat him. They score another one. That's where a sense of, uh-oh, this isn't actually happening, is it? And then we keep on fighting. We score. We don't actually score. The goal gets called off. It was a hand over puck or something. And then they scored again to make it 3-0 them, and they took the game 3-0. We get to the locker room, and Coach Ange, is the head coach, absolutely reams us out. We were 13 years old, I think, maybe 14. I don't know. This was grade 9, it's maybe 14. And he's cussing. You go, what the fuck was that? That's embarrassing. This team gives up 8 goals a game, and you got shut out. Keep in mind, this goalie stood on his nuts. I know him now. I'm actually good friends with him. You guys suck. And the assistant coach, Ange, it's their last game before Christmas. Whatever, you lose, move on. And I personally think Ange was 100% right. But anyways, fast forwarding to the end of the season, we ended up losing the Kraft Cup by 1 point. So what I'm trying to get at is the Toronto Maple Leafs are in a division where they're separated by this much, and they would have been right there, 2 points away from the top of the division if they didn't give up points to a team that, kind of like the Renegades, gives up 8 goals a night. Not 8 goals a night, but you get my drift. So this goalieing is nonsense. It's nonsense. You run into hot goalies because goalies get hot. It's like goal scores. Ovechkin will score 3 in a game, will score 3 again, then he'll go dry. I don't care you ran into a hot goalie. You're the best team in the league. You beat them. You beat the brakes off of them too. I don't care that this is my rant now. I don't care that we outpossessed them. I don't care that we outchanced them. We're the best fucking team. We should do that. It's embarrassing if we don't, let alone losing to them. So try and answer your question. Getting goalied sucks, and it's gonna happen as a player, but you need to find a way to get it done because it could cost you. And there was zero hyperbole in that story either. That actually happened. We lost the Kraft Cup by 1 point because we dropped a 3-0 game to them on December 23rd.
Something you remember forever. And I think it's something you apply to anything that you ever want.
I've never won a Kraft Cup. That was the closest we've ever got. Closest we've ever got.
No, I hear you. And I mean, I think the exact thing that the Leafs need to do. Find good teams, and I think I'm bringing your point around here. Great teams find ways to win. I think that's the most obvious statement ever in sports. And great teams find ways to win. The Maple Leafs need to start finding ways to beat hot goaltenders. It's the nature of the beast. We found, Jared, you made a comment, I think it was either on Twitter or in our group chat. I saw it out in the mediaverse, and it was shades of Corpusalo, was it not?
Yep, that was a response to a Damo Rimoli's tweet.
So that was what year again? Columbus 2020 bubble.
Oh, fucking
still haven't. And I know every team's going to run to a hot goaltender, but not every team is going to be in the position the Maple Leafs are, where points like these matter from where you're going to be playing in a first round matchup. And we all know how Toronto Maple Leafs first round matchups are more than talked about and more than important. So you need to learn now, not now, you should have learned previously heading into the season with those winning habits that Sheldon Keefe sort of turned towards throughout this year and last year. You need to know how to beat a hot goaltender on any given night. I don't really see this game as, I do find it a little bit embarrassing. I don't get mad because they lost to it, but it is definitely embarrassing to say the least. I don't know. Do you guys have any thoughts on that? I'm not going to give a rant because I don't got much with me. Go on.
One final thought. And I was thinking about this, like, this isn't because of what happened tonight. This is what I was thinking about last night. And then I kind of like dissected into the Toronto Maple Leafs schedule and just how they've done throughout the season. And I'm just going to say this. I think if they end up playing Florida or Tampa in the first round, I think they're going to get smoked in 5 games. Because I'm just looking at this. I was thinking like they're lucky to get 5 because I'm looking at their recent games. And, you know, they win against Vegas with half their team missing and 7 guys getting called up 2 hours before the game. they lose to Colorado, and then they lost to Tampa 5-3, lost to the Jets 6-3, lost to the Wild 4-3. They beat the Avalanche, but that was with Jonas Johansson in net, so I'm not really going to count that because then after that, they lost to Pittsburgh 2-0. I'll say their last legit win might have been November 18th versus New York when they won 2-1.
No, yeah, you're right. You're right. And you guys want me to read you Arizona's losses? Because I have them in front of me.
Oh, and that
Sure,
was with
yeah, why not?
Shesterkin in net.
Sorry,
That was with,
Arizona's wins, I should say. Arizona beat the Seattle Kraken. Okay. The Blues, they're pretty good. The Detroit Red Wings.
they're
The
pretty
Los
good.
Angeles Kings.
The Red Wings are pretty good. Yeah, they're. I mean, like they for what
The
they
Red
have.
Wings are in.
For their
Like they're outside of the playoffs.
They're in 21st with a negative 24 goal differential.
Okay, well, they'll be good eventually. But
Eventually,
Not
yeah,
this
but
year.
right now they're not. They beat the Blues, which that's a good win, 3-2. They beat the Kings. Okay, the Kings suck. They beat the Jets. Jets are in 20th. Who else we beat? They beat the Ducks. The Ducks are pretty good. Overtime win. I say pretty good. They're in 12th, so pretty average. They beat the Chicago Blackhawks. Oh boy. And they beat the Toronto Maple Leafs, who are allegedly a top 6 team in the NHL. They have one win against the top 10 team.
And
that's why I don't look at record. That's why, because when you look at the Leafs schedule, they have to play 3 more against Tampa, 2 more against Florida. They got to play Carolina again. They got to play Minnesota again. They got to play Dallas, Nashville, Boston.
Oh man,
they have a tough.
It's tough sledding, but we're gonna see what they're made out of, man. I don't like right now. You're gonna look at it. You're absolutely correct. They haven't beaten, or for me personally, they haven't had any good performances against a contending team. Hands down, I will not argue with there. But I'm not.
I think the second half of the season will definitely.
You will see what this team is made of in this down this stretch, the second half of the season. I don't know if I'm going to take these words out of Jared's mouth, but I'm not ready to write them off yet. January, first 2 weeks of January. We have to see, man. They can go and play Tampa Bay Lightning. They have yet to play the Florida Panthers. Who knows how they're going to react there? Maybe they shut down that highly powered offense. We don't know. Signs aren't always promising right now, but you don't know what this team's going to be like in 1 month, 2 months, 3 months when it absolutely matters and it's coming down to the wire. I'm not ready to sell them off now, but the what you're saying right now, Evan, it's not looking too promising, but promise is meant to be broken. So let's see what they can do down the stretch. Jared, I don't know if you got anything to say about anything we're touching upon here before I guess we're going to probably wrap it up.
Yeah, and then we got tomorrow.
No, I mean, honestly, you guys, everything you said is pretty accurate. Obviously, it's more bleak than you want to think just because how good our record is. The one thing I'm going to say is I don't think it's fair to entirely, yes, when you look at the games against our truest, toughest matchups, we haven't done very well. But there are so many games in that mark that you just conveniently kind of moved aside where we've gotten wins. I get they aren't teams that you'd say are. I get it. They aren't teams that you'd say are the toughest matchups, but you have to win the matchups that you're scheduled up against, and we've done that very well. So I don't think it's entirely fair your point to completely excuse those wins.
No,
and only discuss the losses. But I'm not saying it's not wrong. Like your point is accurate that the teams that we truly have had our hardest tests against, we so far have not passed those tests. So I think there's a valid point in there, absolutely. I just think you can't look at our whole schedule, which we played, I believe, 30-something games so far, and take a whole huge 20-game chunk of that and say these games don't matter.
Well, I'm not trying to be like that, but I'm just saying, like, the games that I passed over was a 6-0 win versus Ottawa when everyone was out, a 5-4 win over Chicago, which they blew the lead and then had to regain it, a 5-4 win over Columbus, which is whatever, and then they beat I said they beat the Avalanche 8-3, but that was with Jonas Johansson in net. Like, if it's Darcy Kemper, I think it's a different situation. And then they beat
I get it. I don't know.
The Ducks, the Sharks, and the Kings, who are all abysmal, and then they beat the Islanders, who had no one.
I get it. I just think I'm not saying your point's wrong. Because, like, there's absolutely a story. There's something to be said about the fact that
it should be a compliment to the Leafs because you're praising, like we praise them as such a highly talented and respectable team that truly the games that they're winning that they should be winning, they don't matter because it's like you knew that going in.
And I think that's part of the issue why we lost tonight, eh?
That was about the
we should have won tonight. But
it could be.
We didn't though. That's my issue.
That's why I'm discounting those wins because it's like they're against teams that have no business even like screaming wild card.
Like honestly, okay, no, Dan, what are you talking?
No, I was gonna make a completely like opposite point. Keep going, Jared.
Well, I'm just gonna say I think it's fair to bring that. It's a very fair point. I agree with your point. It's something to keep an eye on. It's something to be concerned with, honestly, and it's definitely something that we need to figure out our shit, especially for the hard test we're gonna have for this second half of the season. Absolutely, it's gonna be a hard test, and it's gonna show what this team's made of. And let's say that their problems kind of start showing up, then we have a serious problem with this group, and it's going to show that maybe this group isn't as good as we've thought they are considering the record. I just think there's such a chunk of games that in saying that stat you're kind of excusing that I'm not ready to make that statement yet because we still have so many games against those tough teams. And let's say on the other end, we end up matching up great against them. Then I don't think the argument is fair. So I think at this point, yes, it's something to bring up. However, it's not exactly fair to use it to say the team is screwed or flawed yet because we have so many more games to match up against those tougher teams. Let's kind of wait and see how we do before we really write them off. That's all I'm saying. I think it's a fair point to bring up. But at the same time, when you bring it up, you kind of, it just by the nature of the argument, you have to excuse some games that sure, maybe they aren't teams that are tough matchups, but I mean, they're games on the schedule for a reason, and we're doing well against them. I think you have to give them a bit of credit, but also have to be slightly concerned in giving them credit because I get what you're saying, but
it's a compliment to them because I'm saying like if let's like I'm saying it's a compliment to them because it's like I think they're that good that they should be beating those teams. I'm just saying the way that they're currently constructed and the way that they're playing right now, if they went in, let's say in 2 days from now to play Florida or Tampa Bay, I don't think it would go well. I'm saying like right now, I don't think it would go well.
Oh, we did shit on. The way we're playing right now, we get absolutely shit on. We just blew a 4-1 lead, and it wasn't even the most embarrassing loss this week.
Well, no, I don't really like. Colorado, I think, is different because they're just so explosive, and I think they're gonna be. I mean, I think they're gonna be in the conference finals, no question. I just think that the way that they're playing right now is concerning because I don't think it's playoff discipline. Like playoff discipline would be once you have a 3-1 or 4-1 lead.
Shut it down.
If let's say Vegas or Colorado, like they do score that goal to make it 4-2 and 3-2, it's finding ways to get that fourth goal. And I'll give look, Colorado, I mean, Cale Makar and those boys in Colorado are fucking unbelievable. Like the fact that they're all on one team under a salary cap is ridiculous. And I'll wrap this up quickly so y'all can go to bed, and so can I. But it's just the way that they're playing right now. That's it.
Definitely a cause for concern. I mean, you got to get it done.
And that's what I mean. That's what I mean by panicking. Like, I don't mean that the season is over. I just mean like, wake up. Because
I agree with that. I do agree.
It's the American panic, but compared to the GTA panic, man.
Well, that's like what my coaches
panic around
say.
Here. You're waving a red flag in the
air.
Well, yeah, no, like that's like the coaches. Like coaches will always tell you it's better to panic now than when you're in the playoffs.
Matters in the playoffs. Yeah.
Like when it matters in the playoffs, and you're like, what do we do here?
Like when Tavares went down in the playoffs, it's okay, we don't have a second line center. Kerfoot, Nylander, fuck it, Nylander on the third line or Kerfoot. I'm so embarrassed. I'm so embarrassed by this performance. I need to get it. I need to get it off my chest. I need to vent a little bit. That this was the worst one of the worst performances of the season. You cannot change my mind. Easily one of the worst performances. I'd love a cookie right now.
Nice biscuit.
I'd love a
I don't know. I understand where you're coming from because just the fact that it is Arizona. There's no excuse for losing to that team, but based on the way we played, I personally think our game tonight, we looked a lot better than even our past games against Vegas and our past games.
Absolutely
against,
not. And the reason I'm saying that,
I don't think we played
performance versus execution, boys. I think that
the performance sucked too.
I thought the performance was fine. They dominated, but
maybe that sucked. It was fine.
And execution means way more than performance.
You skate. It's if I don't dangle a bunch of 7-year-olds, it's an issue. I need to look inwards. It's an issue towards me if I can't dangle a bunch of 6-year-olds. So them dominating in possession. I said it before. Them dominating in possession. Them almost tripling them in shots. Them out whatever the fuck you want to say. Expected goalsing them
doesn't mean jack.
Not matter. It means jack shit. It means
right.
It means so like little because it's supposed to happen. And if it doesn't happen, that's when it's panic on the spot. Like if the Leafs were outplayed tonight, like outpossessioned, that's where I am destroying the red button.
Oh yeah. I think that's absolutely fair.
Can you guys name the wingers on their first line? Because you can name the center.
Clayton Keller.
Is Travis Boyd up there?
Travis Boyd is their first line center. He was waived from us and claimed by last year's Canucks. They lost to an AHL team, guys. They genuinely lost to an AHL. These guys have 6 wins, and I'm fuming because it's a trap game, and you fell right into the trap. You dropped 2 points for no reason that could come back to bite you in the ass. You don't see Tampa doing this. You don't see Florida doing this. You don't see Colorado doing this. You don't see the Canes doing this. You only see the Leafs doing it. Why? Maybe this team isn't built for the playoffs. Maybe this team isn't built to go far if they can't beat up on the Coyotes. I don't care, Veggie, whatever the hell his name is. Sorry,
Veggie.
Veg Melka. I don't care. I don't care that he stood on his head. Beat him. I don't care. Ugh.
I think in the defense of everyone else, that Veggie dude
was unreal. I should say that.
No. But I don't think it's a matter of a hot goaltender. Like, he's been really fucking although they're losing games,
he doesn't get goal support, man. They haven't scored more than 2 goals with him in there.
He saves them from getting killed 10-2, and he keeps their future, 4-2.
He's their future down there.
Yeah, he played well.
He did.
Why did we only score
beat
one?
Him though?
Why did we only we scored one? We
when Austin they played St. Louis, they lost. St. Louis only scored 2. He's not giving up many goals when he wins.
St. Louis isn't a top 10 team. St. Louis isn't this big contender that we are, hyping them up.
They got Binnington and them boys.
Yeah, they're cool. They don't got
Kyrou.
Kyrou's
can we go
cool.
to bed? I'm
Robert
kind of
Thomas.
tired. I'm not gonna.
You're tired. It's 1:30 here, brother.
It's 10 o'clock over there.
Discussion.
Huh? What?
I just came back from a 6-hour shift. I just want to eat my cookie.
Eat it, bro. We ain't interrupting this.
Yeah, eat your cookies.
I'm ready to go to bed. I think it's a very.
I'm hungry. Yeah, I got energy. I'm wired.
I got it.
Yeah.
You want to keep
I'll see you guys later.
Keep it running.
You guys can talk to your Leafs. I didn't even watch the games. I can't.
True.
Hey, I appreciate the cookie eating and I appreciate the hosting job. It was phenomenal. And the minutes.
Yeah, you killed it.
You are awesome, bro. We're gonna see more of it tomorrow, no doubt. We got an episode coming out probably tomorrow afternoon. I'm seeing it as hosting debut, the full Epi hosting debut. I ain't interrupting this one. It's all you, baby.
I'm gonna add. All right. Well, here I'll leave you guys with this question. By the way, I think Mary already knows this. I told Mario way back when that the Peter Mrazek contract was horrible.
Was listening to it for about the whole semester, man.
I don't like to toot my own horn, but when I do,
you could toot that. You could toot that. That's a bad contract.
No, I remember that when they signed him, and my dad looked at me and we were both like, "What the fuck did they just 3 years?" I was like, "What the?" And then $3 million. I was like, double what the fuck? I just think the issue with Toronto, though, is they need to play him more. Because
not tandem anymore.
No, but if you want to trade him, you're gonna need.
I want to win.
But listen to what I'm saying. it's either you want to trade him, which you can't do right now because you haven't played him enough. My other concern is the Leafs have a very hard second half, and I have little confidence that Jack Campbell is going to make it through it all. Not
That's
like injury wise, not injury wise. I just think this second half is going to define also how much he makes in July.
100%.
Because if he sinks when they play teams like Tampa, Florida, Carolina, Minnesota, that's 6 years, 6 million, or 5 years, 5.5 million. That's just going to go down, man. Like, that's just going to go down. And he hasn't played a full season in the NHL yet. So I just have little confidence that he's going to make it. So they need to play Mrazek more now. So when it happens later, it's like you can trust him, which you can't because he's always injured, like Anthony Davis. So yeah.
Hey, that's a completely valid point.
I like what you said, but I don't know if you want to go get your rest. Go get your rest. Go eat your cookie. We'll pick it up tomorrow afternoon.
All right.
Don't blame you.
We got work to do here. I got a
serious business.
I got a referee a heavyweight tilt right here.
No,
I'm
kidding.
Like I
wait. Who's the underdog? I'll put my money on the.
Yeah, who am I putting my money on?
Hey, shout out to Matthew scoring. That actually,
it was such a nice goal.
It was a shocking.
What a goal!
Who
gorgeous.
Scored? What are we talking about?
Hey,
Sam 34.
Austin Matthews breaks Leaf record for most away goals in a streak or whatever, 9 games, and they lose.
You know what I
Matthews
forgot about last year? Like, I just forgot. Like, it completely crossed my mind that Matthews won the Richard with like a sprained like left wrist or whatever, and then he also missed like 5 or 6 games, and yet he was gross. Still like
so good.
He was still so ahead of like everyone, and I think it just hit me like 2 weeks ago that happened.
Yeah,
he's ridiculous.
He's gross. He's
I
gotta rest up for my hosting gig tomorrow.
Yeah, of course.
See y'all later.
I'll see you. He leaves it in my hands. All right, gentlemen. I don't know. Give your takes, man. The only thing that I want to say, and this is what I'm seeing from the middle ground before you guys kick it off. This is all I'm going to say. Jared, you're talking about, what was the word I used before? Performance. And they performed, in my opinion, they performed well. Jared, I think they performed well. Well, you said, Adamo, the puck possession. No, it doesn't mean anything because they lost, but they won the puck possession battle, even though it doesn't mean much. And they won the shots on goal. They dominated the Coyotes. What they didn't do, and which is favoring your point, however, they did not execute whatsoever. The scoreboard shows that mightily 2-1 your final, and they can't come out defeating the bottom feeding team in the National Hockey League. So that's all I'm going to say. That's what I see from both Jared's side and your side, Adamo. So you guys go make it clear. And I don't know. That's all I'm going to say.
No, I agree with that. And I like the way he's saying it is very true. Like there's reason to be frustrating. Reason to be frustrated. I'm not saying don't be frustrated. Just, we had a great game. It doesn't matter, obviously, if you don't win the hockey game, especially against the Arizona Coyotes. I think there's absolutely reason to be frustrated. I'm just trying to say more, if you don't look at it in the long term, just purely look tonight. It's a game in January. Opposite. I'm looking long term. It's a game in January, and I think we did fine. Like we lost it. It sucks. It's annoying because it's such a bad team that we absolutely should be destroying. But I think we played well enough. It's just sometimes you aren't going to win. Sometimes you aren't going to put the puck in the back of the net. And it's a problem, sure. But I think it's something that happens, and it's unfortunate and it's annoying. And it's like so not surprising that it happened in this game because it's just like such a trap game going in. But to your point that you always say, there's something about winning habits, and good teams find a way to win that game and put the puck in the net. So for that reason, I agree with the frustration, and I agree they have to, there's no excuses. They have to find a way. There's no, they got goalie, they got this, they got that. Good teams find a way. So I'm very much in the middle because I get where the frustration is coming from. However, watching the game, trying to be as reasonable as possible. If we somehow, let's say we fluked into a goal in the last minute and then scored one in overtime. Like nothing about the actual way we played gave me reason to be mad. It's just we lost on the score sheet and that sucks. So I think that's more where I'm coming from because I think like hypothetically, if we did win the hockey game, then we did everything right. But at the end of the day, we did everything right and then just lost. So it's annoying and it's frustrating, but I'm finding a hard time being too mad while I do understand where the frustration is coming from. That's kind of my point. Like, I'm not saying you're being ridiculous or, oh, you're so negative. Like, it's shit. You should not, there's no excuse for losing to the Arizona Coyotes. It's shit and it's brutal and it does not paint this team that should be a contender in a good light. I just think they're such a good team. Sure, this one sucks, but put it behind you is kind of where I'm coming from, because I think we played better tonight than in some games where we end up getting the win. That's what I'm thinking.
I want to ask you this question, Adamo, before you get into your nitty gritty here. They come tie it up in the last minute and they win an OT or a shootout. Does your take change? Yes or no?
100%. I'll fully admit to that. Yeah.
And
Of
why?
course, yeah, it's because it's 2 points.
It's
2 points. You beat the team and you dominated them and you found a way to beat the goalie. The reason, another reason I guess it changes is because, like I said before, the Atlantic Division is ridiculous. It's stacked. And by the way, this we're gonna, just because it's the Leafs, come May, the Atlantic Division has come down to 2 points. The Leafs are gonna finish third in it, and they're gonna end up playing the Tampa Bay Lightning instead of, say, jumping them at home. It's bound to happen now. You can't drop these games. I don't care. Like, they didn't play fantastic. I think they played average. I don't think this was a better game than the last 3. Honestly, I don't think they did anything special. Like, sure, you got a lot of high danger chances against the Coyotes. I mean, nice, but I don't have much to say other than this is just, it's embarrassing. It's constant. This whole week, it's been embarrassing. The 4-1 against Colorado, the 3-1 against Vegas, where, to be honest, it was not looking good. I thought we were going to lose, and then you go and lose to the Coyotes. Like, I was thinking about this, and the guys in the sport media group chat, they actually make a point. Can this team close out a game without Mitch Marner? Look at me bringing up Mitch Marner, the typical Mitch Marner homer. But, and I'm thinking about it. I'm like, you know what? Mitch Marner is a great defensive player. But I think that speaks more to this team versus the skill of Mitch Marner if you need this guy to close out a game and not get embarrassed.
If you need this guy to come close out games, nothing's looking too bright. You can't rely on one player, or quite frankly, 2 or 3 players shut down a game. Your whole team has to shut down a game. Even the same thing for goalies. You don't need to rely on your goalie and make sure he stands on his head like the Leafs have done over this road trip, where Jack Hamill's forced to make miraculous saves, save of the year candidates, whatever you want to call it. He's forced to do what he has to do, and even more. You don't need those players. It always has to be a team effort. You look at these Stanley Cup champion teams, and I know I hate going back to these Stanley Cup champion teams in the past, but isn't this what the Leafs want? They want to hoist a cup. They want to end that long drought. That's the goal. That's the dream that they want to live. That's why it's going to just pay off so much more once we see it happen. But in order for it to get there, it's a full team effort through and through. That's, if you're relying on Mitch Marner to close out games, and it's not an excuse. It's you don't need that. You need to shut it down without him, with him, whatever it may be.
Yeah, and when you look last year, Tavares goes down, and we're like chickens with no heads. It cannot happen. It can't happen. Mitch Marner, I'm like, as much as I shit on him, I know he's a fantastic player. I know he's a fantastic hockey player, and I know this season his stats aren't actually a representation of how he is as a player. But at the same time, he's not this much of a game changer where you're paying him $11 million to play this elite defense. That's not what you're paying Mitch Marner to do. You're paying him to whip crazy passes across the ice and get him 70 assists.
You're paying $82 million in total for a whole team to play defense, no?
82.5. You got it. You got it.
Don't separate it down to little pieces. It's supposed to be a full group effort. I think we can all agree on that here. That's the only thing, and I think we're gonna wrap it up here. That's the one thing that I just want to see down the next stretch. They didn't do it against these group of teams where it was a full team effort, both scoring, offensively. I thought the top 6 did most of the hard pulling on the offensive end, but even the defensive end, I need to see a full team effort in the games against the Lightning and that whole set of series against the Florida Panthers, which we're going to see. And I think that's going to be where we see if the Leafs are going to stay afloat or sink to the ground. So in these upcoming big matchups, like Evan was talking about previously in the show, the Leafs have to have a full $81.5 million of production, both on the offensive side, defensive side, and in goal, which in goal they've been getting quite a lot. Fortunately, it doesn't come in this game. Jared, if you want to make any final points, Adam, if you want to make any ones, or else we're going to put a bow on this one and call it quits.
Well, just last minute, I'm going to say, just to say something about Mitch Marner when his name was brought up. I'm completely in the middle of both of you. I think on one hand, he is a great player, but on the other hand, he isn't paid that money for his defense. That as much as sure he helps us close games, whatever you want to say, he isn't a defensive forward whatsoever. He's the furthest from. He's an offensive. He's a passing guy, and as much as he's important to our team, and I like him as a player, he's not the excuse, and he's not the why we're losing these games or anything. And I think you could give credit to Mitch Marner and say we're feeling the effects of him not being there without it being used as the excuse for Mitch Marner's not there, so we can't win. We're incapable. Because if that's the problem you're having, then your team just isn't capable. And I'm not going to say that about the Toronto Maple Leafs because I think we are capable, and that's why it makes me frustrated when we have some dog shit efforts. I don't even think tonight was what I'd refer to as a dog shit effort. I think just sometimes you lose, and it sucks that it's against this team. But in general, no, I think we are a good team, and it's a credit to our group that I think we should be capable of playing better than we have been in the past few games. A big test ahead, not only just to rebound the next week, but in general to rebound the rest of the season. There's obviously a long way to go. We're still at about 35-ish games left. We're right around smack dab in the season, but already second half of the year, the playoff picture starts to get kind of straightened up and put together. So big test for our group, and I'm Mr. Positive all the way, but there's question marks here, and it's not panic button. It's not anything like that, but I think you guys are very much right to bring up kind of these concerns, and even if not hammer the panic button, you're right to kind of turn the eye to them a little bit and start making sure, put that exclamation mark on them, make sure they're being worked on, because there's some things that are creeping and slowly coming back into our game that if we don't truly fix and lock in on, we know what the end result can end up being if we don't work on those things. So I think we're going to end it off with that. I think you guys both did great. This is not meant to be like a hostile thing or whatever. I'm obviously, you guys know I like to be positive. A demo is more on, I'm not even going to say
realistic.
I think on the realistic side.
No, you could say on the negative side. I'm very critical of them, and I know I'm critical of them, but
you're critical, but I think you bring up valid points. It's not negative for the sake of negative. You're coming from a place of you have genuine reason to be concerned, and that's why I'm not for you guys are being ridiculous. You guys are being ridiculous, because I think everyone's bringing up very valid points here. A discussion has to be brought up because, as Evan loves to say, if you don't start bringing up these discussions now, then when is the time to bring it up? You have to start, even though it's early, and I love saying, oh, it's only January, it's only this, it's only October. You have to bring up when they aren't doing well in hopes of getting it in their heads that they need to pick their shit up. So I think that's something I really hope to see from this group, because as much as sure it's a game in January and I'm not too panicked, I think we played fine. We definitely got to pick it up, because the way we're playing these past few games, it isn't bad. It is not Stanley Cup contender is the opinion I'm going to give there.
It's early for tonight, and for us, it is quite late, 1:45 on the dot. So we're going to wrap it up here. You'll see us tomorrow afternoon. We will be releasing our NHL episode. I will be actually up much later than this. I got to publish this episode now, so that's going to be a fun 3 a.m. finish and hit the pillow. So thank you guys for tuning in. I really enjoyed our first ever Leafs line post game. It was terrific. Never thought I'd be doing a post game for a 2-1 loss in Glendale, Arizona, but here we are, and we will be in this exact spot tomorrow afternoon. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for hopping on the late pod, and I will see you guys all tomorrow and for the rest of the season. As we all do, I will see you guys later.